Okay, so good morning or good afternoon. Our lesson for today or for this week is all about the Earth system. Okay, so we have three types of system. First is the isolated system. So it allows neither mass or energy to pass across the system. Next is we have the closed system. So it allows energy but not mass across its system boundary. And lastly, we have the open system. It allows energy and mass to pass across the system boundary. Okay, so kung mapapansin nyo sa isolated system natin, no? Okay, so for example, sa isang classroom. So, lahat pwedeng pumasok. Pwedeng pumasok si teacher, si classmates, or other student from the other section. So, parang ganun yung isolated system natin. Okay? Lahat pwedeng pumasok. Okay, so how about the open system? Kung mapapansin nyo sa open system natin, pwedeng pumasok or pwedeng lumabas lahat. Okay? Mass and energy can pass through across the system boundary. So, balik tayo sa example natin na classroom. Okay? So, kung sa isolated system, pwede lang pumasok. Lahat pwedeng pumasok. Wherein sa open system naman natin, pwedeng maglabas-pasok. Okay? So, pag pumasok yung estudyante, yung teachers, anytime pwede silang lumabas. Compare sa isolated system natin na wala. Puro enter lang. Enter ng enter without exit. Parang ganun. Okay? So, ano yung system ng Earth natin? Okay? So, for the Earth system, it is a closed system. Okay? So, the boundary of the Earth system is the outer edge of the atmosphere. So, virtually, no mass is exchanged between the Earth and the rest of the universe or other planet except for the meteorites. Okay? However, energy in the form of solar radiation passes from the Earth's surface. Okay? So in return, the Earth turns or emit the radiation back out to the space across the system. Hence, energy passes across the Earth system but not mass, making it a closed system. Next, we have the characteristic of the Earth. Okay, so the Earth is also referred to us as the world. Okay, so the Earth is the third planet from the Sun and is also the fifth biggest planet. Okay, so it is also where or the only place where life exists. And it is rich in biodiversity. So when we say biodiversity, it is a variety of life in a particular habitat. So these life forms such as the plants, animals, and including us. In addition, it is the home of about 14 million different species of plant and animals, including the home of 7.5 billion humans. And lastly, we have the four vital elements that support life. So we have the carbon, the hydrogen, the nitrogen, and lastly, the oxygen. Okay. So next is we have the abiotic factors necessary to support life. Okay. So when we say abiotic factors, without life. Okay. So these include the light. Okay. So as we all know, the sun is the major source of energy or the light. Okay. So light is very important in the process of photosynthesis. So it is the process wherein plant convert water and carbon dioxide into food when exposed to light. Okay. So we have here the distribution of of light in the earth or the distribution of light. Okay? So first is we have the 51%. So it is absorbed by the earth. So it is absorbed by the plant, the animals, of course us. Kailangan natin ang sunlight in the form of vitamin D. Okay? Next is the 20%. So this 20% is scattered and reflected into the clouds. And then the 19%, wherein it is absorbed by the atmosphere. Okay? So the 6% is scattered from the outer space. Okay? So we have the 4 or remaining 4% wherein it is reflected back from the surface. Okay? So not all the sun's energy is being absorbed by the Earth's surface. Okay? So the amount of energy being reflected from the Earth back into the space is what we call the albedo effect. Okay. For the second factor, we have the water. So water covers up to 75% of the Earth's surface. So it is very essential in the survival of living organisms. So especially for plants in the process of photosynthesis. Siyempre sa atin din na human. So sabi nga, we can survive a week without food but not without water. So ganun ka-importante yung water sa atin sa lahat ng living organisms. Okay, next. The third factor, which is the air. So it is the invisible gaseous substances or substance that surrounds the Earth. Okay, so we have here the percentage of air or distribution of air present in the atmosphere. Okay, so the 78%, which is the nitrogen, so it is found in every living tissues. So this nitrogen has no smell and is colorless. Okay, next is the 20.9%, which is the oxygen. So it is very important, especially in the process of respiration. So same as sa nitrogen natin, it is also colorless and has no smell. Okay? Next is we have the 0.03 carbon dioxide. Okay. So it is important. So this carbon dioxide is important in the process of photosynthesis. Okay. Next is we have the 0.90% argon gases and the remaining 0.17 other gases. Okay. So those are the composition of the atmosphere. Okay. For the fourth factor, we have the soil. Okay. So it is the main foundation of the ecosystem. So as I mentioned a while ago, the 75% or waters cover 75% of the Earth's surface. Okay? So the soil, the remaining 25% naman is covered by the soil. Okay? So what are the importance of the soil? First, it filters the water, hold the minerals, and other essential nutrients that are essential to grow crops and the forests. Okay? In addition, it also regulates the earth temperature. Next, we have the pH measure. Okay. Okay. So class, take note pH should be written in A, small letter P, and capital letter H. Okay? Laging tatandaan yon. Okay. So ano ba yung pH measure? So pH measures the acidity and alkalinity. So we have numbers that ranges 0 to 14, wherein 7 is the neutral. So pH lower than 7 is acidic, and then pH higher than 7 is alkaline. Okay? So acidic has a sour taste, and alkaline has a bitter taste. Okay? So what are the negative effects of very acidic environment? Okay, so acidic environment can cause certain diseases and illnesses. So pwedeng sa humans or sa animals. And then sa plants, Kapag masyadong mataas yung pH ng soil, hindi makakapag-grow or hindi mag-grow yung plants natin. Okay? Next is the temperature. So temperature is the degree of hotness and coldness. Okay, so paano ba ito? So for example, we have the pine trees and the polar bears, diba? So usually, they survive or they reside in a cold environment. Okay? Low temperature, tama ba? Then we also have the camels and some cactuses. So mas gusto nila sa desert, which has high temperature. Okay? So tayo naman, in humans, we can adapt both in cold or hot environment. So it's a matter of adaptation. So some animals may survive in a cold temperature, and some may not survive in a hot temperature. Okay? So to sum it up, no, we have 6 abiotic factors. Again, we have the light, the water, the soil, the pH, the air, and lastly, we have the temperature. Okay, next is the Earth subsystem. Okay, so first is we have the atmosphere. Okay, so it is the gaseous envelope that surrounds the Earth's surface. So we have layers of the atmosphere. We have 6. So first, let's discuss the first layer, which is the troposphere. So it starts at the Earth's surface and extends up to 8 to 14.5 kilometer high, or 5 to 9 miles above. Okay, so it is the lowest layer of the atmosphere and the most dense layer. Okay? Okay, so when we say dense, it contains little water vapor, and then it has few clouds. Okay, so that's why um, planes can fly peacefully in this layer. In addition, almost all weather occurs in this region. Ayan. Next, we have the second layer, which is the stratosphere. Okay, so it starts just above the troposphere and extends up to 50 kilometer high, or 31 miles above. Okay, so in this layer naman, we can locate the ozone layer. Okay, so as you all know, ozone layer filters the ultraviolet rays from the sun. Okay, next, the third layer. Ayan. So we have the mesosphere. Okay, so the mesosphere starts just above the stratosphere and extends up to 85 kilometer high, or 53 miles above. Okay. Okay, so in addition, mesosphere is the coldest region. So it is cold enough to freeze the water vapor into ice clouds, and wherein meteors burn up in this layer. Kaya pag bumabagsak yung meteorites from the space into the Earth's surface, bato na lang siya, okay? So nababurn up na siya sa layer ng mesosphere natin. Next is we have the thermosphere. Okay, it starts just above the mesosphere and extends up to 600 kilometer high, or 372 miles above. Okay. Okay. So in addition, aurora and the satellites occur in this layer. So we have two types of aurora. We have the aurora borealis, or the northern lights, and the aurora australis, which is the southern lights. Okay, next is we have the ionosphere. Okay, so it is an abundant layer of electrons and ionized atom and molecules that stretches from above 48 kilometer high above the surface to the edge of the space at above 965 kilometers, or 600 miles above, overlapping into the mesosphere and the thermosphere. Okay, so in addition, no, in the ionosphere, it reflects and modifies radio waves used for communication. Okay, next layer is the exosphere. Okay, so this is the upper limit of the atmosphere, or should we say the uppermost or the highest layer of the atmosphere. So it extends from top of the thermosphere up to 10,000 kilometer above, or 6,200 miles above. Okay, so in addition, space shuttle orbits in this layer. So in the exosphere. Okay, to sum up the layers of the atmosphere, so we have the troposphere. Okay, the lowest layer, wherein weather can occur in this layer and airplanes can fly peacefully. Okay. Next is we have the stratosphere, where ozone layer is located. The mesosphere, the coldest layer of the atmosphere, wherein meteors burns up in this layer. Next is the thermosphere. Aurora and satellite occur in this layer or region. And we have the ionosphere. Charged particles are present in this layer or layer of the atmosphere. And radio communication is possible. And lastly, for the exosphere, the upper limit of the atmosphere, okay? Wherein space shuttle orbit in this layer. Next is, we have the hydrosphere, the second subsystem of the Earth, okay? So, about 70% of the Earth or 75% of the Earth's surface is covered by liquid water or the hydrosphere. Okay, so much of it is in the form of ocean water. Only 3% of the Earth's water is fresh water. 2/3 of these are in the form of ice, and the remaining 1/3 is present in streams, lake, and groundwater. Okay, so the hydrosphere includes all the bodies of water. We have the waterfalls, ocean, lakes, river, wetland, ponds, and etc. Okay, so we also have here the water cycle, also known as the hydrological cycle. Okay, so this cycle describes the continuous movement of water on Earth, above and below the Earth's surface. Okay, so we have 6 to 7 process of water cycle. So first we have the evaporation. Okay, so it is the process that turns water into water vapor. Okay, so water absorbs heat energy from the sun and turns it into vapor. Water bodies like oceans, seas, and the lakes and the river are the main source of evaporation. Okay, through evaporation, water moves from the hydrosphere into the atmosphere. Okay, so we also have here the transpiration. So, transpiration is also a process similar to evaporation. So, wherein liquid water turns into water vapor in the form or by the plants. Okay. So, the roots of the plant absorb water and push it through or towards the leaf, where it is used for photosynthesis. Okay. So, the extra water move out from the leaves through the opening of the plant or leaves, what we call the stomata. Okay, so later on, this water evaporates and turns into water vapor. Okay, so transpiration simply means the evaporation through the plant. Okay, next is we have here the condensation. Okay, so condensation, as the water vaporizes into water vapor, it rises up to the atmosphere. Okay, so at high altitudes, the water vapor changes into very tiny particles of ice or water droplets. So because the temperature is high at high altitude is low or very low. Okay, so this process is called condensation. These particles later on come close together and form clouds and fog in the sky. Okay, so next is sublimation. Okay, so sublimation also contributes to the presence of water vapor in the air. Okay, so this process where ice directly converts into water vapor without converting it into liquid state. Okay, so the main source of water in sublimation are the ice sheets of the North Pole and the ice caps of the mountain. So, sublimation simply is a evaporation in the ice or in the ice of in the ice. Ayan. Next is precipitation. So, in precipitation, the clouds or the condensed water vapor, then poured down in as precipitation due to wind or temperature or in changes in temperature. Okay, so this occur because water droplets combine to form bigger droplets. So these water droplets fall down as rain. So if the temperature is very low, the water droplets fall as a snow. So water can also be precipitated in the form of drizzle, sleet, or hail. Next is the surface runoff. Okay, so as water pour down, it leads into runoff. So runoff is the process where water runs over the surface of the earth. Okay, so when snow melts into water, it also leads to surface runoff. Okay. Okay, so for the last process, I'm sorry, it is not included in the PowerPoint. Okay, so we have the infiltration. Kindly check your module na lang. Okay, so when we say infiltration, water that precipitates does not run off into river and is absorbed by plants or gets evaporated. Okay, so it moves deep into the soil, and this process is what we call the infiltration. Okay, so the water seeps down and increases the level of groundwater. So this water is called the pure water and is drinkable. Okay, to sum up the process of water cycle, first is we have the evaporation. So the process that turns water into water vapor in the bodies of water. Okay, next is we have the transpiration. So transpiration is the evaporation of water from the plants and trees. Okay, next is the condensation. So the vaporized water turns into water vapor. Okay, then next is we have the sublimation. Okay, so sublimation is the process wherein ice is directly converted into water vapor. Okay, next is the precipitation. So the clouds then poured down as a precipitation due to the wind or the changes in temperature. So precipitation may occur in the form of rain, snow, drizzle, sleet, or hail. Okay, next is we have the surface runoff. Okay, so this process where water runs over the surface on the earth. Okay, so as water runs over the ground, it displaces the topsoil with it and move the minerals along the stream. Okay, so in addition, surface runoff combines to form channels and then rivers and end up into lakes, seas, and ocean. Lastly, we have the infiltration. Okay, so it is wherein the precipitates is being absorbed by the plants or being evaporated. Okay, next is we have the biosphere. So it is the set of all life form on earth, so which include the ecosystem, from the soil to the rainforest, from the mangroves to coral reefs, and from the plankton-rich ocean surface to the deep sea. Ayan. Next is the geosphere. Okay, so this describes all the rocks, minerals, and grounds that are found on and in the earth. So we have two layers of the geosphere. So the lithosphere, this includes the rock of the crust and mantle, the metallic liquid outer core, and the solid metallic inner core. Okay, and then we have the pedosphere. So it is the outermost layer of the earth. So this is composed of the soil and the soil processes such as the mountain, hills, and the volcanoes.